Hi, this is Robin Reed, the Program Leader Coordinator for Ag and Natural Resources with K-State Research and Extension. We've gotten to the part of the process where we're going to talk about the outputs and the inputs of the logic model. Now, this is again the logic model in the most simplistic form, and you've already talked about outcomes, and those are the achievement goals and objectives of the situation that you're trying to address. And remember, just as a review, there's short, which is the knowledge that's gained, medium, which is what your participants will do with that knowledge gained, and long term, what condition or impact are you having on that situation. So not to confuse this with outputs. Outputs are what we're actually doing as an extension activity to deliver the needed education to achieve those outcomes. Now, there's actually kind of two pieces to this. The first is the extension activities, which I mentioned, and this can have many forms. Professional development opportunities for others in the extension system, educational meetings, seminars, and workshops, written materials, videos, social media posts. In this day and age, a lot of our stuff is done online, so developing an educational plan that addresses those objectives in a different way than the traditional workshop audience has been. Facilitating discussions. This is another piece of extension work and might be an output that you plan to do to achieve the outcomes that you desire. Outputs also indicate what the target learner or audience is going to be. So most of the time this is participants or clients that we work with in K-State Research and Extension. They might be decision makers in the community or other agencies that you're working with that you plan to target to deliver this educational material to. Now, I want to emphasize that it could involve a lot of different pieces when you're looking at outputs. So there are different learning styles in which people receive information, and different audiences can be reached in different ways. So really spending some time in planning your educational effort and the different pieces that are going into achieving your outcome. And I know it's hard to see, I think my picture is covering this, but the last equal to sign there is a arrow and a bullseye. So making sure that all of your educational activities are directly in response or in coordination of hitting that bullseye and achieving the outcomes that you want to with this action plan. Now, just to give you an example here of some work that I've done in the past and what outputs I have put together to achieve the outcome. I work a lot in farm policy. So the Farm Bill is something that typically comes out every 4 years as a new Farm Bill, and producers have a choice typically between 2 or 3 programs that they can sign up for to support if prices or income revenue is low. So this is a big decision because farmers typically have to make this decision before they harvest their crop or know what the marketing year average price is going to be for their commodities. So a big extension effort is done every 4 years to help producers make this decision. So the outputs that multifaceted outputs that we plan, and again, this is a state level program, so it's going to be probably a little bigger than what you're planning with your action plan. But we, as an output, plan professional development. So holding training for extension agents so that they know the up-to-date information and communicate that to their own local producers. They can be the local experts on the topic. So we hold the training and provide a PowerPoint for them to use at their own meetings. Then this past time we held 10 regional meetings across the state. So this is an output in meetings and workshops. And then each county held their own local meetings. So we had a regional approach and a local approach in our meetings and workshops. Written material and curricula is something that our department put together. So we have publications, we have Microsoft Excel decision tools on our website, agmanager.info, and we're periodically going to be updating this as new regulations and information was released. And then to follow up on some of this, we have extension agents that met with producers to do one-on-one consultations. So this is, again, the multifaceted approach to achieve our outcome of producers making the best risk management decision for their operation when it comes to selecting a Farm Bill program. So using these different outputs, we can achieve that outcome in a number of different approaches. Now our target learners, obviously with professional development, was extension agents and most specifically ag agents that typically did this education. Our outward audience is typically producers. They're the ones that are going to have to be making this decision. And along with that, we have a lot of lenders, crop insurance agents, and other key advisors that we're going to be helping producers make this decision. So targeting them with our educational information is also a big piece to achieving our outcome. Now backing up even further, again, the approach here is to look at have the end in mind and then work your way backwards. So that was the outputs, or what we're going to be doing in our educational effort. And now we're going to concentrate on inputs. What are we going to need to conduct those outputs that I just talked about? Now there's a number of different examples of what inputs that we need. So obviously we're going to need some human capital or people involved in this. So that might be staff of our own organization, volunteers, or partnering agencies that are going to work with us. We're going to need time, we're going to need money, possibly equipment or new technology. We're going to need research base. Are you doing a program that already has research-based information that you can communicate to clientele, or is that something that's going to have to be developed? And then, intellectual inputs. If we need to develop that, maybe there's some existing curricula in different states that we can tap into. Is there new software that we're going to need? So just thinking of inputs, it's what are you going to need to be able to do the outputs that you plan to do to achieve the outcomes that you want to change that situation that you see in your situation statement. So going back to my Farm Bill example, here's are just some inputs that we needed to go into this state level program. So obviously we needed extension agents that were going to do a meeting in every county across Kansas along with our regional meetings. They would also be needed to do follow-up consultations and help answer questions on as producers had issues that came up individually that we didn't address in our meetings. Also, we had to develop the curricula ourselves, doing the presentations for the agents, for the regional meetings, and then the decision tools that would be used by producers as they were trying to get educational information on making these decisions. We would need money, so I secured sponsors to help with our travel expenses, with the printing of materials that we handed out at all of our meetings. The venues, having some expense there with some of the meeting spaces, refreshments, and a number of other expenses that went into this educational effort. We also needed equipment, projectors at each location, a microphone system so everybody could hear at our locations, and just making sure we're planning this all ahead and that when we're out on the road we don't have any surprises in needs that we didn't think of ahead of time. So again, inputs are what are you going to need to produce the outputs that you intend to do to achieve the outcomes that you would like to see. Now, as you prepare for our live session, I want you to think about some things for discussion. So first, as we look at our 5 grand challenges, name some outputs that we might use to achieve some of the things that we've been doing towards these grand challenges. So water, health, global food systems, community vitality, developing tomorrow's leaders. What are some outputs that we've done I know you have been in the system for a while now if you're at Programming with a Purpose. So what have you seen as far as outputs towards these different 5 challenges, grand challenges? And then what inputs were needed to conduct those outputs? So as you prepare for our discussion, be thinking about those two, inputs and outputs, as it relates to the grand challenges. Thank you very much.